Are you ready? Okay, welcome everybody to the Palaca Historic Preservation Board meeting for December 2nd, 2021. Calling the meeting to order. Chris, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Correa,
Present.
Ms. Van Rensburg, Ms. Crable, Ms. Schonberger, Mr. Hollister, Mr. Beaton.
Present by Zoom.
Thank you. We do have a quorum here and present. Is it the chair and the board's recommendation allowance to allow Mr. Beaton to continue via Zoom?
Yes.
Wonderful. We have a quorum and we can continue, Madam Chair.
Okay. And let's go to the invocation. Pastor Newberry, please.
Mulberry.
Is he there? Okay.
God bless you. Yes, Father, again, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this chance to come before your presence. Even today, God, as we come before you, we ask for your wisdom and guidance, for your directions and all that we undergird to do for your glory. We pray that you would bless the city even the more. Touch us, God, and lift us up. Bless us according to your will. Give us wisdom and guidance in what things we must do. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'm going to read the appeal procedure. Any person aggrieved by a decision of the board may, within 15 days thereafter, apply to the city commission for review of the board's decision. Such application must be filed with the city manager in writing. Objections by property owners to National Register nominations must be notarized to be included in the record, section 54-4-74 Palaca Muni Code. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the Historic Preservation Board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. Florida Statute 286-0105. Does anybody have any ex parte communications to disclose? Okay. Did everybody have an opportunity to review the minutes from last month, from November 4th?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
page 2 of the minutes, the paragraph at the top, I'm not looking at it, but it's the paragraph at the top regarding the discussion about St. Mark's property, I think.
Yes.
Okay, there's a sentence in there that makes reference to the property at 426 Kirby Street.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I'd like to request a change of the wording of that. The sentence, and again, I'm not looking at it, so you may have to correct me slightly. The sentence contains the words that this is, and then I would like to substitute the words at that point. This is referring to the St. Mark's own building. So it says that this, oh, thank you so much. Let me see where I am.
But this is a contributing historical structure. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let me see. It, okay, do you see it says the board discussed that this is a contributing historical structure in the historic district, whereas, so I'd like to change that the wording that following the words that this is, I'd like to substitute a more visible contributing building in the North Historic District because of its location between St. Mark's Church and the Bronson Mulholland House. And I want to strike this sentence that talks about let's see here. Where does it say? Yeah, in other words, that's all I want that sentence to say is just that, because it referred to that it was a it referred to the fact that the 426 Kirby Street was not as I forget the exact wording the way it was, but it was not as significant a contributing building. And the age of the house on Kirby Street, although the house is in poor condition, it was built between 1892 and 1897. So I do consider it a significant contributing building to the South Historic District.
Madam Chair?
Okay, we would need a motion with the recommending those changes. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. Ms. Walsh.
Hi, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's Miss Thomas. Okay, out there. Zoom in.
No,
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Is this a correction to the minutes? Because Ms. Krantz does listen to the video and transcribes the minutes, not exactly, but as to the general conclusions and statements that were made. So are we saying that there needs to be a correction as to what was transcribed? Or are you, Mr. Beaton, trying to change what should have been said or thought we wanted to say?
Right, I understand. I do not recall us referring to it as not being as significant a contributing structure. Could we request as a minimal that Ms. Krantz could review that portion to see if those words were used? And obviously, if they were, I can't go back and change what took place as far as minutes are concerned. But I thought,
I think a review is necessary, but as I recall, in fact, I remember because it's kind of the verbiage used for the National Register, contributing, non-contributing, and that I did in fact say the house on Kirby would normally be considered not non-contributing from an architectural standpoint.
okay,
So I believe I did say that. And
Okay, if you read the minutes, it says not as
well,
contributing.
it should be non-contributing, not as, but nevertheless, I did make that a similar statement. That's all I'm saying,
okay.
as I recall. But again, Ms. Krantz can review the minutes.
If I may,
Yes.
if I may, Ms. Cray, that is the phrasing you said. You said it was not as contributing, but I'm happy with you correcting the minutes to reflect that it's not a non-contributing.
Yes.
A summary, it means the same thing in my opinion.
Okay.
So shall I strike Mr. Beaton's, or is that his motion to make this change?
I think, Mr. Beaton, your suggestions, your recommendations would be an actual change in the discussion. It wouldn't be necessarily a correction. Is that the sense of everybody else, not just me?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so
the word as mean that it is contributing to some extent, but not as much as the church is my take on it.
Well, that could be, except I was trying to kind of stay within the parameters of the National Register, which basically says contributing, non-contributing.
Right.
So, whichever way the group would like to go, but I think in fairness, Mr. Beaton's was a kind of a total change from what we said.
all right,
Correct.
well, based on the discussion, I'll withdraw my comment.
Okay.
Thank you. And if you would like for Ms. Krantz to review that and bring it back at the next meeting, and you could approve the minutes except for that section, then you
That
could
would
go
be,
forward.
I think, wise. Yes,
Okay.
thank you,
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Thomas. Okay. We'll move on.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A second.
I thought we just decided that we were going to do that the next time around, the next meeting after they were reviewed. Is that
Oh.
what I thought that's what Ms. Thomas suggested, and I thought was wise. That was me saying that. What about the rest of the board?
I thought it was her suggestion just to not approve this section of the minutes.
Correct.
Okay, well, maybe I missed it. Okay. Yeah. we're
Or you
getting
can do
hung up on
like
this. and
Ms. Carrera suggests, that you not approve the minutes at all and you just bring them back for the next meeting, whichever is your preference.
Is everyone okay with that? Bringing them back for the next meeting rather for approval?
I move that we bring them back to the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got 2 seconds, but nevertheless, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, we can.
Thank
move
you.
along. Thank you. We're going to go to new business. Is there any public comments of items not on the agenda? Okay, we're going to close public comment, and then, I'm sorry, we will go on to new business then. HPB case 21-27, request to replace windows. The location is 310 North Second Street, Palaca, Florida, and the applicant is St. Mark's Episcopal Church. Ms. Walsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa Walsh, Planning Director. We brought this to you last month, and I know you all had a lot of questions about it, and you wanted to speak directly to someone, a representative from the church, and I believe the pastor is here.
Okay, would somebody like to come up and give some information about your project and this application? Please give your name and address for the record. Is it on?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is John Currington. I reside at 587 West River Road. I'm a member of St. Mark's Parish. And a brief statement about what the windows, what we're doing with the windows is part of some improvements we're making to the church's parish hall. Part of our improvements include making the restrooms ADA compliant. And in the process of doing that, we also did some floor leveling and other items that were non-historical items that we got a building permit for. But we had several broken windows, which we wanted to replace. And we had several windows that had been removed, and plexiglass had just been nailed over the window openings. So that's where we wanted to put the new windows. We are using modern materials, but basically the same style and look of the original windows, which are single hung 2/1 panels. And they are vinyl clad metal windows. So we're also doing it because they're energy efficient and some other modern aspects of the window. So that's what we would like approval for.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions?
Well, we had a discussion that we had given permission for property on Kirby. Somebody that those minutes up and see if we can back them.
Ms. Walsh, did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had.
Okay.
The board did, and part of that approval was that there would be wooden trim around the exterior of the windows to give a more traditional, appropriate architectural look.
And refresh my memory, was it for all of the windows or was it for just the side facades versus the front facade? Was it the front facade as
It
well?
was for the sides
Okay, for the sides. So it
And-
wasn't
and
the
the
front
front.
facade.
and the front, yes.
Okay.
You're right,
So we cover the vinyl.
right.
Partially.
I'm sorry, could everybody turn on their microphones, please?
I have mine on. Does any, yeah, you don't, did you hit your button?
Thank you.
And your microphone should be up to your mouth if you're on the dais.
Closer to your mouth, I think. There you go.
Wasn't part of the discussion that they were going to look into pricing the wooden ones, or that somebody said that they could mill wooden ones and we'd find out what the price was?
I think we just asked that they come and kind of give us a synopsis of what their project was. We didn't make a call. We can't make that call directly at that point. That could be a recommendation. But again, is it, what are the thoughts about putting vinyl clad on the building?
Well, I remember the decision about 426 Kirby Street, and I confer with Ms. Crable that at the time we all wondered if this would come back to revisit us. 426 Kirby Street, pardon me, comparatively speaking, does not have the age of the St. Mark's properties. And I'm looking in the minutes, and I apologize, I wasn't here at the last meeting. My mom is very ill. But I do see in the minutes that Ms. Walsh advised that the applicant would be willing to mill new wooden sills if they were required. Apologies that I wasn't here, but I'm wondering if that was investigated.
That was the statement that was made to me.
Okay.
And I thought that's why we were coming back to hear their
Okay,
ideas on
are
that.
there any thoughts about, or any suggestions, solutions to make it look less harsh and like vinyl? Less vinyl like, for example, what was mentioned about the Kirby Street approval was that they were going to trim out the vinyl and wood, so the vinyl wouldn't be as obvious. Any thoughts about that from St. Mark's?
Well, we are going to trim it out in wood to replicate what's there now. The vinyl is basically the sashes themselves and the mullions that appear in the upper panel window. So you really, it's not like you're going to see a lot of vinyl. These will be trimmed out in the same way that the existing windows are now.
Why was the decision made to go with vinyl over wood?
Well, part of it is cost, but it's also because these are double glazed so that they will have additional insulation benefits. And custom making windows is really expensive. So that was an important factor.
Were these vinyl windows custom made?
I'm trying to think if they were, I think they were, but I'm not sure.
Have you purchased them already?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. I lived in Cooperstown, New York, and the whole village was considered historic. And when we had to replace windows, I did construction. It had to be authentic, to look authentic. Wood had to go back where the wood was. As far as windows, I don't know. I just have this odd feeling putting vinyl in such a centerpiece of our city as far as the historic district.
But you also need to take into consideration that there are so few buildings of this age in this city. I commend St. Mark's on everything that they are trying to do to rehabilitate and bring back these structures. I doubt they would have gotten permission to knock them down, but I mean, this does seem that for the entire envelope, the best thing to do for the structure. I realize I'm kind of going back and forth on this, but I think it needs to be noted that they've done an amazing job with what they have through the process.
I agree. I mean, I think that we always risk, but we should be considering each request individually and not comparatively or setting precedent with another. And I commend St. Mark's as well. They've put a lot into their other structures to date. It looks beautiful. And I know we were at a juncture several years ago where there was discussion about them requesting demolition. So I'm so happy they've gone in the totally opposite direction, and that's great. And I go back and forth with this too, because I really like to see them be wood. On the other hand, they are kind of a mishmash right now, and they have all sorts of materials. So I don't know. Mr. Beaton, could you weigh in? Because I mean, yeah. If they were the original windows, I'd be more inclined to say, I think you need to have those rehabbed. but
Right, thank you, Madam Chair. There's a lot of changes that have been made to that building over the years. We do have and I think maybe the representative from the church is familiar with this. We do have an image of the building from 1887 that shows what the exterior of the windows looked like. One of my concerns when I asked if we could have a representative from the church to come was the wording in the original application that they were going to apply wood over the windows was it sounded a little iffy in the original proposal about that they were going to try to have some church members do that. So I just wanted someone to be here, and I think I just heard those words a few minutes ago, that is what's going to happen. It's not a possibility that is their intent to, that if you're passing by this building, that it's going to have the appearance of wood on those windows. And the other issue that I had was there is kind of a mishmash of window styles. And I think I heard the speaker say that they're proposing a 2/1 configuration for the windows. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
what we see on the windows that are there currently.
And
that
several
aren't
of
broken.
those window openings are different sizes. Is that correct? Is that why you're having to custom some of those?
Yes, yeah, and all of them will have to be retrimmed out, the casements and the exterior milling will all be in wood.
Okay, thank you. So, Madam Chair, my one concern about whether or not it was going to be trimmed out with wood to cover over the more modern materials. So a person passing by on 2nd Street, it would not jump out at you that there had been a modern application of materials there. That was my primary concern. And the other was to try to standardize the looks of the windows. If you look back at the 1887 engraving of the building, the windows are fairly standard. I think they're 2/2 in most, but there are some differences even in that period. And so to try to standardize the windows so it's not so much of a mishmash of style of windows, I think is a very positive thing. So I think I've heard today what I wanted to hear, that the church is going to make every attempt to have the forward appearance, which is kind of what is talked about by the Department of Interior in the standards. It's like the street view of the building is their primary concern. And when you do something to a back door that's not visible from the street, there's a little more latitude about what you can do. So I think I'm hearing today what I wanted to hear in order to vote positively on this issue.
okay. Does anybody else have any further
Yeah,
questions?
on the picture on the front, the windows above the entryway, they're smaller than the ones on the left-hand side that are 2/2 that have no mullions at all in them. And I was just wondering how we could standardize either having all 2/1 or 2/2, or and those windows have some
Well, the
mullions.
windows we propose replacing with the double windows, which don't have mullions, will have that exact same look.
Okay, so they're going to do the same thing for the smaller windows. Okay, any other questions? Okay. How would we like to proceed?
I would make a motion to recommend approval for the request of a certificate of appropriateness from city staff to move ahead with this project.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next case is HPB case 21-30, request for plumbing and paving surface renovations in the locations 114 South Third Street. The applicant is Timothy Green. Ms. Walsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This application came in a couple of weeks ago.
And it's already a work in progress.
It is a
that
work in
correct?
progress. The application was noted as a after the fact application,
Okay.
so they have paid the additional fee that entails. There's a lot of work going on at this time. Much of it has to do with paving, or I'm sorry, not paving, but putting down pavers over much of the property. The property is not listed as a contributing structure in the master site file, but there are photographs from the time of the survey in 2009. The building may be classified as Art Deco, but there's a couple other little styles, if you will, in there over parts of it. The owner is looking to do quite a bit of work, as I mentioned. Part of it is new construction, general maintenance. This is directly from the application. Exterior painting, front entrance doors on both the first and second floor. Adding an awning. Installation of brick pavers on all sides of the building, including an ADA accessible ramp. That ramp is already in place. Installation of railings, doors, windows, and skylights. Installation of a takeout window and installation of a second floor bathroom. In your staff report, there's a significant amount of description for the scope of the work under each of these general topics. There's also some examples in the exhibits. So for example, if you are in your staff report, an example of the awning, it would be on page 6.
The awning that's currently on the side door of Azalea City Brewery on the warehouse.
That's the example, right? And the location of that example is in the top pictures under proposed. And then installing brick paver walkways, stairs and ramp on Oak Street driveway and driveway in the alleyway. That's in exhibit 2, which would be page 7. Much of that work is also already complete. There's railings proposed on the exterior stairs to the second floor and the first floor entry walkway and ramp.
On the railing, is the railing design in the packet?
It's on exhibit 3, but there was no actual railing design included. Exhibit 4 shows the addition of doors, proposed doors.
And those are on the rear of the building, correct?
The
Okay.
alleyway and one on
Okay.
the rear of the building and the second
Okay.
floor balcony. Catch up with my exhibits here. Exhibit 3, just to jump back a little bit. Sunny, do you have exhibit 3 in yours?
No, ma'am, I do not.
No, okay, sorry.
No, it just goes from 2
So
to
there's
4.
some examples of Art Deco windows and an awning. Do you have it in your report?
No, I don't have it in mine either. If you want, do you want to circulate it?
That
so we
was a
can look at it?
late addition.
Okay.
I'll have to get some copies of it and I'll do that as soon as I'm done
Okay, unless you would just want to circulate it at this
Okay.
point, it might be easier rather than.
And we'll have to hold it up to the camera so Mr. Beaton can see it.
Mhm.
When was this building built?
1940s.
Okay.
Ish era.
Okay.
It has some arts and crafts components in it too, at least in the interior, more so than exterior.
What is it going to be used for?
What was it originally?
Oh, I know what it
An
was.
Elks, okay. Oh, I think that there's a mention of what the current owner's intended use is, which I think is retail or restaurant. We'll ask him when he comes up there. After we get through this packet review.
Okay, so then we can go back to exhibit 4 and 5.
Yeah, let me hold this up for Mr. Beaton. Can you see this, Mr. Beaton? Oh, no.
So I think Sunny's gonna have to move the camera.
No, I can't.
Okay, well, how about that? 'Cause
I
I'm
don't
not
believe
having to-
anything that we do. He's going to be able to see it, Madam Chair.
Yeah,
Okay.
that actually, that helps what you just did. Hold that back up, Robbie, please.
Okay, that's some examples of Art Deco architecture. Basically.
Oh, I have, that was in my packet. that I-
Okay, it wasn't in some of ours, but okay, great, you've got it.
Yeah, I do have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we okay? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just baffled as to
Okay.
something that just happened, but who knows? We will proceed. In exhibit 5, it shows the proposed placement of the rear double doors. And also a photograph of the proposed doors. Exhibit 6 shows the proposed skylights and the arrangement on the roof of the newer addition portion of the building.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think that exhibit pertains to our,
Well, it's an alteration to the exterior,
yeah,
so it does,
well, you can't see it from the street.
but it's still an alteration to the exterior.
Okay.
And in the age of drones, really nothing is sacred.
Yeah.
That's true. That is very true. Exhibit 7 shows the existing windows on the second floor and an example of the proposed windows. Exhibit 8 also shows the proposed location for the takeout window and an example of the proposed window.
And this is on the side down toward the driveway.
It's in the front side, isn't it? It's on the front side next to that little side addition door. Yeah. Yeah. I know it is.
Madam Chair, if I may ask that the applicant come to the microphone so those appearing on
Yes,
Zoom
I'm
can hear
so
him.
sorry, I should have done that. Come, please come up, Mr. Green. Give your name and address for the record.
Timothy Green, 114 South Third Street.
Do you now understand where it is, Mr. Reba?
Should I repeat?
Okay, let's move through it and then we'll specifically ask Mr. Green any questions we may have.
On page 20, which is the page after this one, Sunny, it shows the proposed location for second floor bathroom addition. Exhibit 9 shows the existing exterior addition. And the last exhibit 10 shows the Third Street view of the proposed changes without the railings. Staff has recommended approval with a couple of conditions, one of them being the submission of no, that's not it. Excuse me. To ensure that all external and internal materials and designs are consistent with historic materials used and ensure that all required building permits are secured prior to work being done. There were also no product specification sheets submitted with the application.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have specific questions of Mr. Green? That's a lot of information. Absolutely. Come on up.
So I don't want to put the cart before the horse in terms of the application, and I welcome the questions. Listening to the earlier discussion about the Episcopal Church, I thought it might be important. In my own research, I've pulled up the original registration for historical places done in 1983 for Placa. And there is specific mention to what determines the criteria of classification for contributing but altered, and non-contributing buildings. This is available online. I'm only going to read what's non-contributing. Pre-1930 buildings which have been severely or irrevocably altered, or post-1930 buildings which do not respect the scale, setback, or materials used in buildings of earlier years. And then they cite some examples. So I bring that up only because there seems to be a little lack of clarity on that. It's not really a subjective choice. There is a criteria for it. But with that,
That's true. And when the master site file was, when the survey was done in 83, some of the buildings that now considered contributing and significant weren't then because of their age at
Sure.
the time.
sure.
Anybody else have any questions?
Did we need to open the whole thing up for public comment or?
I was going to,
Oh, I'm
since Mr.
sorry.
Green came up, no, that's fine. And then I was going to do that. If we prefer to do it first, that's fine. Anybody here for public comment about this particular application? Okay, we'll close for public comment. Okay, members of the board, do we have any specific questions?
Well, I believe my first question is that without any kind of product information, isn't the city sort of flying blind?
Yes, ma'am. That's why that's stated in there that the applicant is expected to supply product specification sheets.
So Ms. Walsh and I did have some correspondence prior to the meeting, and in an email, I provided her specifications on every product that I've listed in there. This is right here.
I
have
have not
the attached-
received that, sir.
These are the ones I'll show you.
What was the date on that, Ms. Welch? Because it has to be a reasonable timeline.
No, November 24th.
So the day after she notified, she wanted that information.
I am sorry, I have not seen this, but I will take it into consideration.
Thank you.
Could you describe to us about the railings?
Sure. Could I have a drawing specification?
And part of the problem is that for whatever reason that this email didn't, Ms. Walsh didn't receive this email, whether it ended up in spam or whatever happened with it, we don't have this information. So it's
Right.
hard
I'm
for
sorry.
us as a board to make these decisions.
Right.
Sure, I understand that. The building originally had plumbing tubing installed, probably done in the 1950s as the existing railing on there. Probably can find some photos that show that. So in place of that, what I'd like to put in is what they refer to as ship deck railing, essentially used in Art Deco buildings. The specifications of it really have to do more so with code than anything, but the design is horizontal members, not in open space, both for visual effect and safety.
So they would be on top of the concrete.
Where the existing railings were,
Okay.
every area that had the railings before will now have ones more in the style of Art Deco. Yes. So there's no proposal of railings where there were no railings, with the exception of the front stairwell, which we've had the addition of wheelchair access ramp.
It strikes me that if this is another kind of after the fact, can we please move forward? That a lot of the work is possibly already done or in progress or ordered or et cetera, et cetera. Would
So
that-
the work that's been done pertains specifically to the paver work. We had flooding in the building because the alleyway that has access and a storm drain that runs from the back courtyard was clogged with roots and dirt. And so anytime it rained, 4 or 6 inches of water went in the building. So in preparation for that and the brick, I had my crew come in, strip all the 70 years of accumulation in the alleyway out and replace that. The stairwell in the front might be the exception. That one was done because we need to be able to get in and out of the building. And the bricks are not, the pavers are laid really predominantly not permanent. So if there needs to be adjustment in order to accommodate code regarding the width for proper wheelchair access, we can adjust it.
So these were necessary preliminary fixes before you.
Those
could do-
were, yeah. But I mean, in terms of the other projects that I proposed, I don't think anyone's been done on this. I have to take a look again, but
Well, those are the windows, doors, replacement, addition of the bathroom, those kind of things. None of that has obviously been done.
right.
Correct.
Right. The paver work is what's been done.
Is this, and I'm sorry, like I said, I have missed a couple of meetings with everything going on with my family, but is this in fact the first time that you've come before us to request an after the fact COA?
No, I don't think so. I have to look, but I have another COA, so no.
We'd love for you to come to us first. We're not mean
I appreciate that.
or scary.
Oh, well,
We're pretty nice.
thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions, concerns, comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Beaton?
I'm a little confused. Maybe I didn't read the packet closely enough. The second floor bathroom, is that new construction to the exterior of the building?
Yes. That's what I interpreted as. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
That's correct. There is no existing second story bathroom in the building. There is probably a later addition of a bathroom, probably done in the 50s or 60s after the original construction in the alleyway. It's the north side of the building. And above that area was where there were air handlers. And so there's a window opening that would make a suitable doorway. It offers an opportunity without encroaching on the interior space of the second story, which is beautiful, large space. And so it seems an appropriate spot. And the plumbing already exists right below it. So it's a pretty relatively easy.
Excuse me, can you go back to that previous picture that shows the existing outside of the building? Okay, so where that first floor section that has the railing around it, the construction you're proposing is above that space?
That open space would be where the new bathroom would be located. Yes.
Okay, did I see in one of the pictures that it looks like that the new construction goes further towards Third Street, or did I not look at that correctly?
It's strictly perspective on the architectural drawing. So when you look at it, it makes it look like that outcropping is at the front of the building, and it's not. It's just drawn according to grade.
Okay, so this little jut out on that side of the building.
About 80 feet from the sidewalk.
Okay, so the footprint of that is not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is it's going to get a second floor to it.
Yes.
Okay. And what's going to be, maybe I missed that also, what's going to be on the front of that that's visible from Third Street, both first floor and second floor? What are you?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying both first floor and second floor of both the existing first floor and the second floor. What's going to be visible from Third Street on the front of that?
What you can see on the first floor is there's 2 windows that have been boarded. Those windows will be replaced with obscured glass into the bathroom. And the exact same design will be used for the second floor. So it'll just look like a replication of the first story on top of the existing first story.
Okay, and the second story addition is going to be a flat roof?
No, we took the measurements there. A flat roof probably won't blend well with the architecture of the pitch on the roof. So there is enough space, the wall space high enough that we can extend the existing pitched roof and just make it like a seamless extension.
Okay, so the rainfall off will go out into that alleyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a storm drain there, which was part of the work there. Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, I have a much better understanding now of, I just, for some reason, between the architectural drawing and what exists, I was having a little problem making the connection, but I understand now. So
Okay.
all you're having to do to the main part of the building is remove that one window that we see in this drawing that's Exhibit 9.
Let me make sure I understand which drawing we're talking about now. Hold on a moment. Are you referring to Exhibit 9?
Yes.
I have red circled. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it came out as a single window. I didn't catch that. But the intent was to do identically 2 windows below, 2 windows above, a mirror image.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right, so that below drawing, the second floor there should look a lot like the first floor as far as the position of the windows are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be honest, that your confusion over the spatial relationship of that outcropping in the front, I think actually plays into the fact of how well the architecture of that just blends into the natural form of the building. So, but yes, I agree with you completely.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The takeout window is going to be vinyl clad.
So the window probably has to be custom made. I think for security's sake, probably stainless steel, but it'll be painted white, match the existing trim on the window. Probably also more sanitary too, so it's going to be likely used. Again, I'm not running the businesses, I'm going to play the landlord. But in terms of proposed use, it most likely will be a takeout serving food or drink of some sort, and I think stainless steel probably be the sound. That was and by the way, that was the only one I didn't offer late as they were, specs, because I think that has to be built custom. I didn't see anything suitable in the marketplace that would fit that space.
In those window replacements in the front that are replacing the louvered windows, they aren't going to have any mullions. They're just going to be open block windows.
The
Just
front
asking.
windows facing Third Street?
It's facing Third, yes. The ones on the second level facing Third, replacing those
Okay.
jalousie type windows.
So yes, so some of the thinking that went into the design of the windows really, again, to a certain degree, it plays into use and also position the building. The building does have a nice view of the river. We wanted to maximize the viewing from those, what I call offices, up on the second floor. The existing awning type windows really are not original to the style or the nature of the building. They're not consistent with any of the architectural influences from my understanding. And based on reviewing some of the other Art Deco influence type buildings, it seemed consistent. Minimalized type look in terms of the nature of the window, and then adding potentially features to the outside. But you know, here's where I was more restrained in terms of choosing these. I'm not looking to recreate a history that didn't exist with the building. And I really don't think that's the core of historical preservation. But I do want it to be harmonious with the general character. And so in looking at buildings in the neighboring area that are commercial, including those in the historic district, the large pane windows is consistent with what I saw.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hmm.
Do we have, does the board feel comfortable with the amount of information we have to make?
Well, my question is, does staff feel comfortable with the amount of information that they have?
I would like to see the product specification sheets that he submitted. I apologize, I don't know what happened to that email, but I will look for it. And
So that leads to which Ms. Van Rensburg was leading to, is that do we, again, table this until the next time around with more information to the next meeting? Or what are our thoughts?
My thought is it's already an after.
It is a
fact.
post request, yes.
So, you know, I'm always very hesitant to tie a property owner up
Mhm.
because of something that might have been slipped on the part of our side. But in this case, if it's already an after the fact, then what is the harm of just looking into it a little bit more and getting
Having
that
all that
information so
information.
that we can address it in a reasonable and informed manner?
So
We could make a
let me
motion.
respond if that's okay.
Yeah, we could make a motion and exclude that to be discussed at the next meeting.
Okay, Mr. Green also wanted to make a comment. Go ahead.
So with respect to the pavers, that's probably the most pressing issue. I don't like the leaves of material out there. I do have a lot of theft on the property. It looks unsightly. And I haven't heard any objection over the use of brick pavers in the historical district. So if there's a need to postpone a decision on the other parts till you've had the opportunity to review the specifications of the other products, I would be open to that. But the second part of it is, and you know, again, this comes back to the matter of historic preservation. I stand pretty firmly on the grounds that the building is a non-contributing building. And I understand your desire to play into the importance of historical conservation. However, you obviously do make exceptions. And, you know, in my own research, and not to compare one project with another, I think Ms. Correa is correct that each project should be considered individually. But when you permit a historical building, for instance, like an Episcopal church, to utilize vinyl, and you are willing to accept the look of history versus the use of historically correct materials, you are not serving what are the criteria for this process. I have a non-contributing building, And yet you're holding me to a criteria that I can't possibly meet because you want my products to be historical when the building is not.
No,
Well,
sir.
I
I think
respectfully
fair.
disagree with the fact that it's, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I believe it
Yes, I
to be
am.
historic, based on the fact that when that site, again, the master site survey was done, it was done in the 80s. This building was not over 50 years old at the time. And also, there was not the recognition that Art Deco architecture was significant as there is today. Look at Miami. We lost an Art Deco building that was very significant. That's a whole other story.
I'm not
But
arguing
yes,
historical
I'm
nature.
just saying it is, in my view, and I think based on the current literature, it is deemed significant to the city historically.
Okay,
Okay, so
well,
we'll leave it at that now. How we
And-
like to-
And just to clarify, I don't believe that we're necessarily telling you that what you're proposing to do is incorrect. We're just wondering what it is that you propose to do.
and I understand that, and that's why I'm amenable to allowing the extension of time. But I did not feel that it's appropriate to, again, allow the notion that there is some historical precedent that should be guiding you in your decision for me to use one product or another on a building that has 70 years of historical changes on it and is non-contributing. That's my position.
And you're entitled to that. So
you.
again, for the board, how would we like to move forward?
Well, if he's saying that the pavers are the thing that needs to be addressed today, maybe we should just make a recommendation on that and then table the rest of it.
Are they, first of all, my only problem with that, and it's not really a problem, is that I don't see the railing design for the ramp that's with the paved ramp. And are those permeable pavers or non-permeable?
In terms of water, permeable.
Okay, I may have missed it. That's
And
all.
this,
That's
yeah,
all.
I included product information on those as well.
So we're really not talking about a proposed brick paver walkway,
It's an
stairs and
existing-
ramp.
It's
We're
the-
talking about we're really not supposed to drive by too slowly. We're supposed to look at what's in the report.
Well, I
so
drive
it's
by
a-
slowly. Can't help it.
Wow, I just keep coming back to the fact that it's so hard to move forward without more information, and this entire process just has a way to begin it and a way to move it forward. And the way to move it forward is not to start at the end and then ask for permission.
The application does have a section that allows for work that's been started, right? So I'm not the first person to present an application for work that's already commenced, right?
You're not the first, but I
Thank
would like to have you be one of the last, frankly.
That would be fine.
And you have been here before doing a post application, so I think that point was made, but at any rate.
Again, if the issue is a question of the specs on windows and doors, I can concede that because you didn't have the information. If the issue is over the pavers, I kindly ask, what is your objection?
No, I'm sorry. I believe you misunderstand me. My issue is not over the pavers. It is basically over, again, an after the fact visit to us, asking that things be done immediately based on the fact that the building is non-contributing when indeed it is 80 years old now. I
And it
mean,
is
I
significant
didn't make that
opportunity.
request. That's a matter of fact. It's nothing to do with me wanting it or not wanting it.
Okay, rather than get into a dissertation about this, I think, again, I think we're all a little disappointed, as we've said, that you didn't come beforehand, that you started the work previously. Also, my bigger thing is still don't see the exact, you gave us a verbal railing design. I don't really know what that is visually. That's where I have a problem with the railing on the pavers. It's not the pavers per se. I think this is the process that is lacking, and it's some of the information that's lacking that we have an issue with. And not with you or the building's historic integrity or whatever, but it's the way this has been done and the lack of total information to make an informed decision.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the paver work that has been done and request to have the appropriate materials and so forth presented to us at the next meeting and we'll go from that point on.
And on that motion, does that include the fact that no further work like the railings be added in the interim until we meet again? I just want clarification. Is it basically, we're approving what's done to this point and no further work can be done until the final approval?
Yeah, basically, I think that's what she
There's
said.
a whole section of pavers that have not been laid in, that not only puts the product out for anybody who wishes to steal them in easy contact, but also an area of concrete and dirt that's been torn up for repair to a water line and a sewer line.
I'm proposing that everything to do with the pavers
That would be fine.
be approved at this
That's what-
point. And we'll wait for the rest of the information about the other materials for
The rest of
railings.
the application.
Right.
Yeah, would that be?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Madam,
Second.
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm pulling away from the mic. I'm so sorry. We have a motion on the floor.
we have two motions on the floor.
Okay, we have multiple motions on the floor. What was the first motion?
To approve the pavers without, and no additional work be done.
Yeah,
That was the
I didn't,
motion.
I didn't know I could
Yeah.
even make a motion. I was just rattling something off.
But there was a motion before that and you tried to add to that motion. So one of the motions has to be withdrawn and we make a motion and move forward on that.
Rescind the first one
Wait,
Yeah, rescind the, yeah.
Rescind the first motion.
and accept the second one.
I think there's still some confusion. So basically the first motion was somewhat made by me, even though I didn't realize I could make a motion. I was just kind of, I think, commenting. So I withdraw my statement about putting a halt to everything at this point in time until we can regroup, and just that what has already been done, we kind of accept to that point, but no further work can be done. So I would draw that if that was what was interpreted as my motion. Is that correct, Ms. Thomas?
Who made a motion? I'm sorry, I can't only see like so much on this mic.
Okay, I'm withdrawing my statements that basically I said something to the effect of there'll be no further work till we can regroup. The pavers can remain where they are, but no further work will be done, and specifically the railings on the ramp, et cetera. I withdraw that motion.
Okay, who made the motion that you were trying to amend?
Then that was Laura, so Laura can go now rattle off what she made. the motion
may I
for.
interject, Madam Chair? I believe I knew the essence of Ms. Schomburger's motion for the record, that it be tabled to the next meeting, but may I ask that she please use the words time and date certain? And the next meeting would be January the 6th at 4.
Okay, so January 6th, we will review the information regarding the rest of the project. But at this meeting, we will approve the paver work that has been done and that will be done in between that time.
And I second.
Okay, is that clear now, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, as long as everybody on the board is clear as to what the motion is.
Yes, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could we have just a slight bit more discussion before we?
Okay, question. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I guess I mean, the whole issue about whether, the work was done prior to obtaining permits and all that, I think that's a little beyond the purview of what the Historic Preservation Board is supposed to be reviewing. I mean, I view that as more of a city issue with permitting and the planning and all than a Historic Preservation Board issue. I feel like what we're supposed to be looking at are the elements that are being presented. I obviously, we had some questions that still have not been answered about what exactly some of the things can be done, specifically the hand railing. I'd like to see drawings of the hand railing, but I have to say that, I personally don't have a problem with the brick pavers. the whole issue about paving materials on people's properties and all is not an issue that the Historic Preservation Board has historically weighed in very much on in the past. It's more been involved with the structures on the property. So I'm not as, I guess I'm not as sensitive about that issue, other than the timing of pulling permits and that kind of stuff. But when we are asked to approve railings that we haven't actually seen or looked at materials and all, I do have an issue with that. So I do think there are some issues, but I personally don't see the pavers as a big issue. And I would certainly be willing to move forward on that. And, you know, a lot of the other elements of the construction. We've had to kind of pull a little information out today to try to get a clearer picture of what is being proposed. And that's a little troublesome, you know, that whoever put the applicant's information together could have done a little better job in identifying some of that to make it easier for us, so this didn't turn into such a drawn out affair. But that's my only comment prior to the motion.
I just want to briefly respond. Mr. Beaton, thank you for your comment. And it's much noted and appreciated. I am sorry that you did not get additional information, and I understand actually that, you know, and I appreciate Ms. Walsh's efforts to get my application in front of the board quickly. And it was a lot I put out there in terms of proposed and in progress projects. Again, I did provide it. It didn't get to you, and I'm amendable to correcting it. But I think you bring up a very important point, which is I would very much like the board to make the decision on the basis of the criteria established by section 5479 and not be taking into consideration their feelings, whatever they might be, about me having pre-existing work before standing before the board. Thank you.
Thank you all. And any alterations to the exterior do fall under the purview of this board, including landscaping, pavers. Just note that. I will reiterate that I don't think anybody in this board that I've heard has any issue with the permeable pavers per se. It's the process that wasn't followed and the lack of information, total information in this packet, just to clarify. With all that said, there is a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Don't hear anything. Okay. So the approval is there, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Mr. Green. Do we have any other things, Ms. Walsh, that you'd like to comment about, other than what was on the agenda?
I do
Any
not,
stuff?
thank you.
Okay.
I
Does the board-
have one staff
I have
comment.
an item.
I'm sorry, there were two people talking. I'm sorry.
Under staff comments, I do have one comment when appropriate, Madam Chair. Sorry, I turned it off in the middle of talking. My comment is that I did receive an application for the Historic Preservation Board from a Mr. Eldred Westbury. It will be, he's applied to obtain the remainder of Richard Stackpole's term on this board. And I'm preparing the agenda for the City Commission for December 9th, and I anticipate it being voted on at the commission's December 9th meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Krantz. Mr. Beaton, were you saying something?
Yes, ma'am. I had talked I had messaged briefly Ms. Thomas to see if it was appropriate to mention this at the meeting. And she said that she felt that it was. On Tuesday night, the Northeast Florida Regional Council and the City of Palatka had a strategic planning workshop that took place at the Ravine Gardens. And it gave citizens and organizations an opportunity to provide input to the City of Palatka's strategic plans, or I think it was mentioned 5 years. I think it would be really a good thing if members of this board submitted suggestions. And the way you can submit a suggestion, Sonny can give you the email, but It's plan, PLAN, Palatka, all one word, at nefrc.org. That's Northeast Florida Regional Council.org. So you can submit information about the importance of historic buildings that are owned by the city of Palatka and other comments regarding historic preservation to go into the strategic plan for the city of Palatka. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beaton. Does anybody else have anything for the board? We have a
Second.
motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.